Super, thanks very much for giving us that update. We'll try to go across to our experts and get a sense of this clearly being just a case in point. There are projects like these all over the country where you have absolutely helpless home buyers who are waiting for projects to be delivered. What is the kind of recourse that home buyers really have? Where can they really go? Sachin.
I guess, there are a couple of things, from obviously, just before I kind of address the bit on the recourse options available, I think, this was supposed to be the year of deliveries.
Right.
Unfortunately, it hasn't panned out that way. So this is not specifically to Calcutta, but more a pan-India trend that you will tend to see. I think, we were looking at about 400,000 units getting delivered this year. And I think the corresponding number of actual deliveries this year is not more than 130,000 units being delivered pan-India. So obviously, this is going to be a larger concern. But in terms of recourse, I guess, in investing in any project, I think it's important that, consumers have picked up units which are part of, where the developer is a part of a developer association. So the first level of recourse would be going to
But when you see large international names like the ones Monideepa was talking about, you tend to believe those developers. And where is the doubt in that case? Because what everyone always advises is do a background check of the developer. In this case, that was something that was a given.
Yes, I guess, but like I said, these are tough times, so there is a global economic situation that obviously is having an impact, and there are local factors in consideration as well in terms of interest rates, in terms of, the huge piling inventories and liquidity sources drying up for developers pretty much altogether. So in terms of recourse, I guess going to the developer association of which the developer is a part, I think is step number one. They normally have consumer redress forums. So, whether if it's a member of CredI or Naredco, they would have a consumer redress forum. But if that doesn't work, then essentially you don't really have much choice but to go to a consumer court. And I guess, but like I said, the first starting point is going to the developer association and trying to get some kind of recourse. And but I guess, the larger issue is liquidity that liquidity crunch that developers are facing.
Right, the liquidity crunch the developers are facing remains the big issue. Why we are going to see more and more projects getting delayed, deliveries simply not happening, and people who've taken loans simply waiting for those homes to be delivered. We slip into a quick break at this point. On the other side, we're going to take questions from our online viewers. Don't go away. Welcome back. You're watching Rebooting India. Let's now try and take some questions that our online viewers have asked on the real estate market. Specific question coming in on the Gurgaon market. What's going to be, will we see a slowdown in the Gurgaon market, or will it rise next year? Also, another question coming up on real estate being the politicians' playground. Will they allow the crash to happen? Also, people specifically asking about the 2080 scheme, which gave security to investors. Let me quickly ask first about real estate being the politicians' playground. A quick response from you, Sachin, on that.
I guess,
elections are coming
in the year of elections, I guess, and the fact that we are already witnessing a slowdown, and given the fact that, pretty much all liquidity sources have dried up. I guess the fact that, real estate does attract a large parallel economy does mean that, unfortunately, that money, instead of going into real estate, is going to find alternative sources right now, which is really funding elections.
Election funding. So we know why the slowdown is also going to happen, why developers are going to face a crunch, right?
That's also going to be another factor.
Right.
But like I said, that's amongst many other factors, that are going to be contributing to the slowdown.
Anshuman, Gurgaon market, viewer specifically asking about the Gurgaon market and where that is headed.
Gurgaon market, because the prices went up quite high, has seen, a slowdown. However, I believe there could be some sections of Gurgaon market where the supply is going to be high, where there could be some correction. But the bigger challenge in Gurgaon market is going to be that the trading in properties will become more difficult. It will not be, the sales volume will come down. So the price may not come down, but if you want to sell your property, you will not be able to sell it.
It may not be as liquid as
liquid. So that will be a bigger challenge than a price drop.
So you're saying that when it comes to an investor, he should really watch out, because he may not be able to really recirculate that property so quickly. But at least in terms of an end user, a buyer, it may be the right time to buy. It's also a time when one can expect a lot of freebies and discounts. And somebody asking specifically about the Mumbai market, Anshuman.
See, the freebies and discounts will come in new launches, because and that too in certain locations where the sales volume, the developer wants to increase it, where the inventory is quite high. And this is a good time, because the developers really don't have a choice but to give some freebies. But it's not going to happen it won't be a mass kind of a thing, but there will be projects where if someone does their due diligence, they will be able to get some good deals.
All right, quick word before we wrap up. Property prices set to fall, and by how much in the next few months? Is this the right time? Should buyers really wait, Sachin, for a little longer before we actually see the impact of the slowdown setting in?
See, in terms of correction, it's wrong to give a blanket number of saying, there'll be a 10-15% correction. But like Anshuman said, there is, at least in terms of new launches, you may see some price rationalization. But the larger issue is that there aren't going to be too many new launches this year. So this year, what you're seeing is actually 1/10 of the launches that happened last year, which means considering that there is already huge piled up inventory. But if you've got money on the, and you put the money in front of a developer and say that, listen, you're putting in 25% down payment on a property, you can negotiate healthy discounts. And I think that is the flavor of the season as I see it during the, leading up to this festive period.
And given that deliveries are getting delayed clearly and the kind of inventory pile up that we are seeing, buyers should be prepared for delays in projects. Is that something which is a given, Anshuman?
It is a given in most projects, not all. Anyways, in India, if you look at the record of previous several years, there's hardly any project which has ever been finished within 3 to 4 years. I mean, 4 years is the average thing.
And hardly any builder who pays a penalty for it also, Anshuman. Right. How do you respond to that?
Yeah. But the reason why nobody has really complained, because whoever has invested, the value has gone up. So it worked, and the developer also, although this is no excuse, but the fact is there has not been a real complaint because everybody has made money.
But is that a trend we can bank on going forward?
But going forward, that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
And now that is the reason why developers have to push and deliver on time, because when people don't see the price appreciation, they're going to complain. Plus, the developers have their own grouse that they need that single window of clearance, etc., right, so that they can deliver on time.
But just adding on that point, the main other thing that is going to impact prices rising in the future is also the fact that the speculative investor, the underwriter, has actually gone out of the market, and unfortunately, that source of liquidity, which developers use for funding new projects,
that
is also kind of going away.
Market.
So, and I think that is another major factor.
All right, so we may see some price correction coming in, and maybe a good time to actually start thinking of that real estate development. But remember, developers are starved for funds and there may be a lot of delays in deliveries. That's something that we're going to see as a trend in the future. With that, it's a wrap here on Rebooting India. Thanks so much for watching. Goodbye.